Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy Mengel, your guest host for this evening's edition of Higher Ed Live, the weekly web show for marketing and web professionals. Tune into Higher Ed Live on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or go to higheredlive.com and join in on the conversation on Twitter using the Higher Ed Live hashtag. And you can follow me at Amy Mengel. In my day job, I head up marketing at Reed Media. We're the company behind meritpages.com, which is used by 500 colleges to promote stories of student achievement and outcomes and to get attention for their schools and social networks and in local media. Tonight's show is all about Georgia Tech's now infamous welcome speech given by Nick Selby, a sophomore, at its fall convocation. And a video of this speech went viral and rocketed Nick to internet stardom. So I'll talk with Georgia Tech's media relations and social media team tonight, as well as Nick, the star of the video himself, and get the backstory on how they turned the video into a national storyline. And you can tell by my jacket, I'm a proud Georgia Bulldogs grad. So the only thing keeping me in check tonight from talking a lot of football smack is the fact that Georgia Tech is a very valued Reed Media client and user of meritpages.com. So I promise I'll be nice, guys. Before we jump in, though, I want to give some shout-outs to our sponsors. OmniUpdate is the leading web content management system provider for higher education. The company's web CMS, OU Campus, is secure and scalable with great tools and features, deployment flexibility, and an awesome user community. You can learn how Columbus State uses OmniUpdate CMS to manage 125 sites, reduce inconsistencies, and enhance workflow. And Higher Ed Live is sponsored by Uversity, formerly Integral, the creators of Schools App. It's a private Facebook community to boost enrollment and retention. You can check out their blog, Uversity Roundtable, for posts on admissions marketing, student engagement, and social media in higher education. We're tweeting the link to the blog now. And this month, mStoner, a marketing communications agency focused on higher education web strategy and development since 2001, is presenting 2 advanced web analytics webinars. This professional development opportunity is perfect for marketing and communications managers and directors who want to learn how analytics can inform their online strategies, and for senior communications professionals and vice presidents who want to strengthen their understanding of Google Analytics. We're tweeting out a link now where you can learn more and register. Institutions can register for individual webinars or get a discount by signing up for both. The folks at mStoner are great. So let's jump in and introduce our guests tonight. We've got Stephen Norris. He's the social media coordinator at Georgia Tech. Hey, Stephen.
Hey there.
We also have Matt Nagel joining us, and he leads media relations for Georgia Tech. Hi, Matt.
How you doing, Amy? It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. And then finally, Nick Selby, the sophomore who's at the center of the viral video we're going to discuss tonight. He's taking a break from studying, and he's joining us as well. So hello, Nick.
Hi, Amy.
So tonight we're going to talk about what is now this infamous video from Georgia Tech's freshman convocation this fall. It made ripples across the internet, and then it crossed over to mainstream media as well. And of course I'm talking about the video from Nick. He gave a rousing welcome speech to Tech's 3,000 freshmen and their parents. And he may have just been hoping for a round of applause, but what resulted was a video that was viewed millions of times on YouTube. It was a national and an international television sensation, and it was posted to hundreds of news sites and blogs. So during tonight's show, we'll dig in on how the communications team at Georgia Tech was instrumental in amplifying and maximizing the exposure this video received. But Matt, I want to start by having you just give us some background on Convocation and what it is and what it means at Georgia Tech. What's the event all about?
Well, I think first of all I have to give kudos to our special events team. Laura Pusateri, Serena Wallace, and Stephanie Sigler all do a great job of kind of creating an experience for students that are kind of the new incoming class. I say new class because it's not just incoming freshmen, but also transfer students and others that are new to the university. And what they try to do is just create kind of an atmosphere to have a kind of an extension of orientation and really try to kind of prepare the students for Georgia Tech traditions as well as let them hear from leadership. And it really is kind of that first time that they're kind of united as a community, as a new class. And Nick was chosen to be the sophomore speaker, which is someone who kind of gives those new students a firsthand account of what it is like to be at Georgia Tech and kind of give them that experience just a year after he was in their shoes.
So Nick, tell us about how you ended up in the role of student speaker and what that process was like.
For sure. So I began by submitting an abstract because I wanted to, and that's what the email told me to do, is submit an abstract if you're interested. And they liked the abstract, so they asked for a audition tape, and so I sent in an audition tape, and they liked that too, and so I was chosen to be the speaker.
Great. And when you got up there, you had rehearsed this and put together a really thrilling speech. It wasn't just something that you did off the cuff. Did anyone else know what you were going to say? I mean, did anyone really know what they were in for?
Sure. The people who had seen and been a part of the selection process for the speaker position knew what they were in for, if you will, because it was in the audition tape. But as for the students, none of them had any idea. I rehearsed it once in front of my grandma and another time in front of some of my friends, and that was really it. So not amongst the audience, no.
So Stephen, then you were one of the people who was kind of being surprised and watching this unfold. At what point did you realize when you were sitting there that this had the makings of a social media sensation, and what were the first steps that you took?
Well, I was lucky enough to be on the front row for this fantastic speech, and you know, I had this feeling while the speech was going on, just so many emotions, like I want to go to school here, you know, and I think that was the general response that a lot of people had. But kind of the first thing I said, I turned to one of the event organizers who was there and asked her, "We're recording this, right?" And she had a little bit of an earpiece in with everyone, and we made sure that we were recording. And so as soon as I found out that we were recording the video, then we took the next steps about making sure that we could get it posted.
And what was the turnaround time for producing the video? So how did you decide what to excerpt, and how long after convocation how long was it until you had it kind of up on YouTube and you were out there and promoting it?
Well, we have we do a lot of analytics for videos, of course, and we know about how long videos are going to be to do well. So I think in general we know anything over a couple minutes, people are just going to kind of tune out. What a lot of people didn't realize was that this speech was actually almost an 8-minute speech that Nick gave. He had no cue cards. He had it all memorized and gave the performance that way. So we had to cut down the best part out of that speech, and there was just about 1 minute and 40 seconds at the end, and we were able to take that. That was the highest priority of cutting that fantastic part out of the speech. Then we went ahead and posted the full version of the speech as well.
And then once the video was up, what were your first steps and where did you start with promoting it?
We started by posting it on our social media channels, our Facebook page. Of course, it was on our YouTube page. That's where it kind of originated from. But we posted on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, and that's really when we started to see other blogs starting to pick up on it. At this point, people are already sharing on Facebook and Twitter on a personal level. Students were starting to talk about it, and so that's kind of where the process of going viral started.
So at what point did you realize that you had a potential hit really on your hands and then decide to bring in the media relations team at Georgia Tech to plan for some more exposure and be a little bit more strategic about how you handled it?
There's always this interesting moment that I've been able to find when you have a YouTube video. There's a point where it seems like the number of views just kind of freezes. And so if you know that people are sharing this and you're watching the views on a video you've posted, we hit at about, it was day one of the video being posted, it was stuck at about 30,000 views, but we knew that it had been viewed much more than that. So that's kind of the moment where we knew that it had gone viral. And so at that point, I think that's where we really launched into, let's start pushing this out. This is about to be something really big. We noticed something like with videos before, maybe other viral videos that we might be watching. Case in point, like Harlem Shake videos. That was kind of a craze. But you know, if you produced one that was well, and you got that kind of freeze moment where everybody was starting to talk about it, and then the views start kind of racking up, you know you've got a viral video on your hands there.
So Matt, what were the first media outlets that you approached, and was there anything special about your pitch? Did you just kind of send the link to the video and let it speak for itself, or how did you go about approaching traditional media outlets?
I think to some degree we approached people that we knew, first of all, and some key kind of media targets for us. So we approached some of our trade, higher education trade magazines, Inside Higher Ed, and then, kind of looked for some folks that would help push it out as well. Big hit for us was Associated Press. That seemed to hit a lot of the radio stations, not only just the print side. And then we reached out to things like Huffington Post and places that we knew might kind of be a little bit more accepting of a video like this.
And one thing that you guys did, and I think this is important to note, is in an instance like this where now everyone has an iPad or a smartphone or some device that's capable of recording video. So when a story like this starts to go viral, the video itself can come from a lot of different sources. So when you spoke with media, you asked for a Georgia Tech courtesy to be run on the bottom of the video to help reinforce your brand. Tell us a little bit about that and what that entails.
Well, we did exactly what you're saying. There was a couple different spots where you could see the video. So when we were talking to media, the one thing that we really wanted to make sure is that we were drawing them back to the Georgia Tech video. What Stephen didn't mention is we actually did have somebody that was on campus that posted the video first. So for part of ours, it was making sure that the video was then turned to a Georgia Tech main institute outlet. And that took some doing, but eventually I think we got it curtailed where we did receive a lot of hits. And Stephen, you might be able to add something to that as well.
Well, I would just say that, in situations like this, there are going to be so many different versions of the video out there. And one thing that you'll notice when you have like a viral hit on your hands is that other people who have blogs and host shows and things like that online, they're going to take your video and do whatever they want with it at the point that it goes public. So you really want to make sure when you're sharing this video that you're having people use the video that you want. And we were very proactive about making sure that people knew this was our video and to please give us that courtesy. And most media outlets had no problem with that.
Matt, can you identify a tipping point where it went from a video that was hitting a couple of blog or news sites to where all of a sudden it just blew up and it was everywhere? I mean, this was on CNN and People, on all the major TV networks, then, all the websites too. Was there a point where it really tipped over?
It's really hard to kind of, I think, pinpoint one point. It did hit ABC News, and that obviously was a big hit for us. So we knew when it hit ABC that we were going to have a really nice video. But I think it was just the amount of web traffic and social media traffic that we saw it picking up so quickly after it was posted, and just trying to capitalize on that. And obviously we have to thank Nick for the great content that he gave us.
Nick, you ended up going on a national media tour of sorts to talk about the video, and you were all over. So tell us what that entailed and how it came together, and then maybe a little bit about the media training that you worked with the Georgia Tech team. How did they counsel you, and how did they help you navigate that national media notoriety?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's when it started out. There were a lot of just like things that started showing up in my inbox or on my Facebook page that kind of pointed to, hey, we would like to call you or have you on our show. And it was mostly smaller things. I say smaller, but it was still really cool for me. The Georgia Tech Media Relations Department was kind of able to take that and turn it into something to really maximize and capitalize on, kind of going on lines with what Stephen and Matt were saying. But for me, what was really great about it was not only are these two guys and their entire team just really genuinely nice people who I had a lot of fun working with, but they would do things like they would take all of the different requests that they acquired or that came to them just naturally, and they would organize them into a single, like, small digest that they would send me at night. And it's just like, here's a proposed schedule for this upcoming week. And that allowed me to sleep. Like, that was fantastic. As far as media training goes, they were able to sit me down and be like, hey, these are some things we run through, just general, like, this is how you talk in an interview session. One thing that really sticks out for me is that they asked me one time, they sat me down and they were like, so what do you want to get out of this speech? And a speech, you know, like I just wanted like to just bump up the audience and have a good speech. They're like, but no, like now that it's gone, now that it's gotten so big, what do you want out of it? Like possibly a job? Like what could you do like career-wise out of this? And I thought like that was just like such a paradigm shift for me. Like, what are you talking about? So they recommended that, like they asked Nick, what's your dream job to work for? And I said, well, like SpaceX, I guess, but like how could this have anything to do with anything? And then they said, well, give it a shout out on your next interview to SpaceX. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, like I'll try it out. So I did, and I went on Fox and I mentioned that like my dream job would be working for SpaceX. Next day, I get a call from SpaceX. And it's just, what? Like, how does that even work? So I don't know, just like stuff that I would never have thought of. That these people who are experts in this area of media relations were able to so masterfully like string together for me and put together this picture of what would maximize everyone's joy and everyone's utility that they got out of this. It was a really good experience.
So that's the key to getting college kids jobs then, is have all of them do viral videos and then talk about their dream company. You know what?
Right.
When Stephen and I were talking a little bit last week, and one of the things that I thought was really neat, and he was telling me about the media tour, is that, you know, they really left it up to you with the programs that you wanted to do. They helped you field requests, and they counseled you on, you know, which type of programs maybe had which type of goals in mind, but they let you make those choices because it was kind of your moment, and they were able to, you know, give you some advice, but they basically helped you organize and then let you take it from there.
Absolutely. There were a lot of times where I was coming to them with advice on other things, and there were a lot of requests I got that were very obviously just kind of like somebody else was trying to take advantage of the fame that the speech got out. Somebody like wanted to buy copyrights from it or turn it into like a book or something, and it's like, you know, a lot of these things is like, this is a scam. Cool. And they were so helpful on that, and they very much made it like, this is your moment. It's obviously a once in a lifetime experience for you. So the priority on enjoying this was on me, and that was really nice to experience from these guys and this team.
And I hear that you never missed class. With all these interviews and all this time talking to all these reporters, you kept your academics front and center, so that's great.
Thank you, absolutely. Yeah, they were very respectful of that too.
One of the things that I love about this video is that Nick really embraces and personifies Georgia Tech, and in a way it's brand. I mean, he's smart, but he's friendly and approachable, and he's like geeky confidence, he's inspired. And there's a lot of viral videos that end up being just, you know, students doing something goofy. I mean, you mentioned Harlem Shake videos, Stephen, which are fun and silly, but they don't do a heck of a lot to promote an institutional brand or to kind of speak to the institutional mission. Matt, I just want to get your take on, you know, how did you ensure that some of Georgia Tech's brand and larger story made its way into some of these media stories? So, you know, how were you kind of leveraging the attention that Nick created about Georgia Tech and turned it into an opportunity to tell the greater story?
I think first of all, I mean, Nick gave us great content. I mean, all you have to do is listen to the speech, and you get a sense of what Georgia Tech's really about. So, you know, we really have to thank him. There wasn't a lot we had to do to work in the Georgia Tech message because he worked it into what he was saying. One thing that I think we did do, and I apologize if you were going to mention this a little later, Amy, but we were able to take a little piece of that video and make it into our PSA, and I think that really kind of showed how much we thought it connected with our audience and really connected with the Georgia Tech brand.
Yeah, so that's the ad spot that's running during your PSA at football games this year. So it's an excerpt of kind of the 30 seconds of the most thrilling part of the speech, and then that's a TV spot for you guys now. So it's great.
That's right.
At some point during all of this positive attention, Gawker ran a post that accused Nick of plagiarizing the speech. So Nick, give us the background on what really happened.
Yeah, for sure. So I was trained in public speaking at Desert Vista High School back in Arizona, speech theater and debate team, and they are a fantastic team filled with fantastic coaches. And one of my coaches, his name is Andy Stone, gave a speech in college on science fiction literature, in which he used the same epic theme music with the "You can do that" message for a different purpose, and it was the most phenomenal speech I had ever seen. So when I was allowed to present this convocation speech, I was trying to think of like an amazing way to end my own, and of course thought of his. So I went and I emailed him and I asked him and I said, hey, do you mind if I use this? He said, sure, and then was so supportive when it came out. Like it was just like a lot of fun for both of us, and he's just a great guy and a great speaker and a great friend of mine. And then no one knew that it was going to get so big. So when all of his friends, because he's such a great guy, saw this thing exploding, they wanted to defend him, which is absolutely valid. And I can be a little bit frustrated that, I don't know, they didn't check the Facebook message that I put out for the public to see or just ask him. But it was an honest error, and I'm happy that it got all cleared up. Like, again, Georgia Tech Media Relations Department did a really good job with that, which they can speak to a little bit more.
Yeah. So, Nick, you used Facebook to address those allegations. You put a post up saying, nope, he was my coach, I got permission. And then, Matt, tell us about how you moved to kind of stay ahead of those negative stories and push to get some corrections made. I saw, from your Twitter feed, you were directly communicating. Tell us about that.
Well, we were probably more aggressive than some people may have been in those instances, but that's just because Nick was so upfront with us about where his inspiration came. You don't have to spend much time with him to see what an authentic person he is. So we were really aggressive in trying to reach out via Twitter as well as reaching out via email to anybody that would that had written anything of a negative sort. Some were receptive and others weren't, I'll be honest. Some of the blogs just didn't even want to run a correction. But I think the turning point was really for us when some of the big outlets ran corrections, as well as Nick did a couple of interviews both on Fox, and then his local affiliate in Phoenix actually ran a interview with his coach, and we were able to push out those links to folks to say, hey, here's even the coach saying that Nick was working with him on this, and that was really powerful. I think ABC News article actually was the turning point where we saw the coverage switch back to primarily positive.
Great. Stephen, you shared some numbers with me last week that were really impressive. More than 5 million times this video has been viewed. 300,000 of those came just from Georgia Tech's Facebook page. And it really meant big things for engagement in all of your social media channels and your YouTube channel. So tell us a little bit more about some of those numbers.
Yeah, it's almost difficult to measure. It was so much happening at one time. And also just the amount of times that it's been viewed. We can only count the versions of the video that we know of, and I don't know that we could ever really count how many times it's been shared on maybe a TV station's website that now is a video that is no longer a YouTube video. So this was literally across the whole country. We know that it was that news stations in all 50 states ended up covering this story in some form or fashion. And showing the video there. Basically, what it did for our YouTube channel was increased viewership almost 6,000%, and that was in the span of a month. And the other thing that was important for us is to include some of the, after you're finished watching one version of this video, hey, we've got other videos on our YouTube channel. So we were able to see some nice interaction on the other videos that we have posted on our YouTube channel, and the videos we've posted since have also been doing a lot better. So just across all our social media platforms, this has been a great thing for us.
And I want you to tell us a little bit about what was happening with internal communications at Georgia Tech. So while you're working on all of this national media outreach and it was kind of blowing up externally, how were you keeping, first of all, just the communications team at Georgia Tech apprised of what was going on because everything was happening so fast? And then how are you involving the Georgia Tech community internally in this great story?
Well, we stay connected through email, obviously, and that was a big part of just kind of talking about everything that was going on. We would kind of do, whenever we have anything on a certain topic going on, what we'll do is we'll kind of talk about all the media hits that we've got, or maybe share some of the comments or tweets that we're seeing, and we'll email that out. So, it was important for us just to all kind of, it was really a team effort on this, to be quite honest, too, that for a couple of days, our entire office was just kind of focused on this, and it was fun for us to all kind of, huddle up and work on this together.
A lot of times there's a pretty predictable pattern with viral videos. There's a little bit of exposure, and that leads to this firestorm of attention, kind of the tipping point, and it goes crazy, it's everywhere, and then it fizzles out, and in the end, it's something that's just kind of this flash in the pan. But Stephen, you're working to ensure that you can sustain this as a campaign. So tell us about some of the things that you're planning. You know, Matt mentioned that you've turned the speech into the PSA that's running during your football games. What other things are you doing at Georgia Tech?
Well, one of the things we immediately realized is, and we kind of touched on this earlier, that this is a lot about Georgia Tech's brand. It's the kind of students we have. They're engineers, they're creators, they're students who are looking to change the world. So having a message like we can do that really kind of brings everybody together, all the students, also our faculty, and then really our alumni too, who are out in the world who are doing that. So one of the first things that we did was I thought, gosh, we need a t-shirt for this. So we've got a t-shirt that's got the hashtag we can do that on it, and it just turned out that as all this was happening at the height of this speech, our president was giving the Institute address. And so what we were able to do is, it was a very quick turnaround. We had a couple of days to get this kind of accomplished, but we were able to create a few thousand shirts, bring them to campus and start handing them out. And it's been great. Like, we've had people at Hartsfield Airport, the busiest airport in the world, that have taken pictures of people in these, we can do that shirts. So we've got some ideas about wanting to kind of send these shirts out to some of our alumni who are doing great things, and possibly kind of build a campaign around that. And we're also just using the hashtag we can do that when we have things that are going on. It's easy to figure out where it applies. So we've kind of got this whole conversation going about we can do that. We see that our students, our faculty, they're using this hashtag just to talk about things that are going on campus. So it's been exciting to follow that.
That's great. No, going viral. People talk about viral videos, and let's make a viral video. And people that are know what they're talking about in communications marketing. That you can't just set out to do that. A lot of times it's something that just happens organically. You can't plan for it. It has to just happen around really good content. But I think one of the things that you guys have really shown us is that there's a lot you can do to push things along. So the content itself is really the starting point. But there's a lot of work that happened behind the scenes to, make sure that the right people were finding the video, and then once they did find it, they had access to Nick, and he was able to broaden your message more, and now you're doing even more to spread this even further along. So what advice would you have for people in social media or media relations, Matt? We'll start with you, Stephen. How do you identify really good content that has that viral potential?
I think it's a lot about, like as you mentioned, you can't create this. It comes in a moment, and I like this idea of being like planned spontaneity. Like, you plan for things that are happening on campus, and if you are there covering these things, there's just a better chance that you're going to catch that moment. If you have staff that is able to go to an event that you have maybe on campus, like convocation, like graduation, a football game. There are these moments that happen at these things, and you have to be flexible enough to be able to capture it. And just having a little bit of savvy about, is this something that created a lot of emotion in people? Is this something that is a source of pride for us? Does this speak to our brand? Is it really unique about us? And when you identify that and you're able to share it quickly, I think that's a better process than trying to just hope you can create something viral. I just think you have to be able to be flexible enough to catch the moments when they happen.
And Matt, from your perspective, I mean, this was just a no-brainer that, the media relations team really should put a lot of effort into this, because here's this speech of a great student giving a great speech that just embodies the Georgia Tech brand. What would you say? A lot of times, we talked about Harlem Shake and Gangnam Style and all these other kind of goofy videos. But I feel like a lot of people in higher ed feel the pressure to do those types of things. So from your perspective in media relations, how would you counsel some of your peers or your colleagues to say, well, this is what this type of viral content is going to mean versus something else that we could be spending our time on in the communications department?
at least from this experience, I think viral videos are very authentic. You know, Nick really did embody what the Georgia Tech community felt was kind of one of their calls, and really kind of brought together a community. So I think from a media relations perspective, what you can do is, you know, if you think you have something, is don't be afraid to push it out. You know, we pushed it out to some outlets that maybe some people wouldn't have thought of. We thought they were important for Georgia Tech. But when you have good content and you know it's a good video and compelling, you know, don't be afraid to go ahead and push it out. Even if it's already starting to get pickup a little bit, it doesn't hurt to give it a push. The other thing is, you know, I really do have to give Stephen Norris a lot of credit. We have a 4-person media relations team, and Stephen and I were the only 2 that were there that week. So we spent a lot of long hours trying to make sure that we planned this out as much as possible and just tried to stay on top of things. So, you know, obviously we had great content to work with Nick. We had a really supportive, you know, rest of our news team that did help and pitch in. But Stephen spent, I think, a lot of his nights trying to call people back.
Nick, tell us just what, in general, this experience has meant for you.
It's been a blast. It's been a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That's really all there is to it, you know? Like, there are really cool things that came out of it, like getting to talk with people from SpaceX, and I got to do like the weather for a local like news channel, which is just hilarious and fantastic, and it's something to cross off a bucket list. But it's just been a really profoundly fun experience. That's all there is to it.
I have to say one thing. There was a great story that came. One of the best parts of Nick's speech was that he said, if you want to build the Iron Man suit, you can do that. And isn't it interesting today that apparently the White House is wanting someone, or I think maybe it's the U.S. military, but they're wanting someone to, they've commissioned a build of an Iron Man suit. And I truly believe if it's not Nick, it will be someone from Georgia Tech.
Nick, what's next for you? You're a sophomore. You're in the middle of midterms right now. You've got, you know, SpaceX calling you. I've checked out your merit page, and you have, you know, you're a presidential scholar. You've got a ton of great achievements. So what's next for you?
Well, thanks. Short term, got to get back to studying Chinese, which is tomorrow, so that'll be fun. And after college, I want to go to grad school. Want to get a master's in mechanical engineering or possibly mechatronics. Basically, I just want to get as broad of an engineering education as I possibly can. And then long term, I guess my career goal, which is kind of strange, is to just make something such that it will change the world and will continue to change the world after I'm gone. That's what I want to do.
And you can do that because you're at Georgia Tech.
That's right. I am doing that.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Matt or Stephen, is there anything else that you want to add just about what the experience has meant to you and anything else that you've learned?
I think from my perspective, it would just be, you know, we do really have great students at Georgia Tech, and I just have to thank Nick for all of the kind words that he said about the Institute, and just hope that other students have a similar experience.
I agree with that completely. We were so lucky in this whole experience to have a student as outstanding as Nick, and I don't think this would have been half as good if it hadn't been a student of his caliber. So we really couldn't pick someone better to represent the university than Nick Selby.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight and sharing your story. It was great to kind of hear some of what happened behind the scenes with this fantastic video, and I'm sure everyone that's in the higher ed marketing space really appreciates you spending some time to give us the behind the scenes. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Next week on Higher Ed Live, next Thursday at 7 p.m., it's host Brent Passmore and Carrie Phillips, so be sure to join in on that and check out higheredlive.com for more on what the topic will be. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.